The University of the Witwatersrand is exactly 100 years old. It just turned 100. It's a university that built the city of Johannesburg. As you know, Johannesburg is only just more than 100 years old, and the university grew the city, which is arguably the commercial, cultural, and financial hub of Africa. What makes me proud, more specifically about Wits, is the role it has played in leading South Africa in research. It's the home of Nelson Mandela, among others, and also it has done amazing work in producing most of South Africa's leading business leaders. South African universities on their own, I do believe, Wits of course being among the leading ones, can hold their own against the world's best, right? But we need as well to go beyond just being good as individual institutions or institutions within one geographical entity. What I posit would be that we would need to expand beyond our boundaries and also learn to interact and build the capacity not only within South Africa but across the continent, so that we are able to put our collective research skills at our disposal to tackle some of the big challenges facing Africa. Among others would be obviously how we respond as the African continent in partnership with the global intellectual academic community, like CIVIS, for example, to tackle the planetary emergency of climate change, migration, political instability, and also to harness the resources posed by the advances in artificial intelligence and quantum computing and power of computing more generally to solve things that are related to vaccine development through gene sequencing, vaccine spotting. As you know, South African researchers were the ones who spotted the Omicron variant of COVID, and that helped the world in managing the spread of the contagion because there is capacity. So I see Arua as creating that community of practice where we can share the expertise across the wider African continent in dealing with the 3-4 planetary emergencies that I alluded to, as was very eloquently covered by our distinguished professor of social theory, Ashili Mbembe, at the session yesterday. The biggest challenge is declining state funding. I mean, South Africa, if you know about its history, has also, of course, a lot of internal contradictions, that it's got certain aspects of it that are very advanced. You know, it's a country, by the way, as you know, that pioneered heart transplants with Chris Barnard. It's a country that can launch satellites. At the same time, with a very advanced physical infrastructure, world-class airports and cities, but at the same time, it's a country with extreme poverty. It's a country actually that within its boundaries has to contend with very difficult historical challenges. And in terms of government spend, I think, and justifiably so, that our government will feel that, you know, rather they spend money on dealing with poverty, dealing with homelessness among the large majority who are poor, than putting investments in advanced research at elite universities like Wits. So those are the kind of challenges. So we have to learn to manage whilst putting our best effort at competing globally and being part of these partnerships, because you've got something to contribute, but being aware that we come from a country with a lot of internal inequalities. I think that's a challenge, and I think I don't blame government for it, because government has to prioritize what are these key challenges of tackling poverty and unemployment and inequality, which are strong in South Africa. So maybe for them, you know, putting a lot of taxpayers' money into such elite universities can be seen as being disregarding the poor. So that's the challenge they face, and we need to look at other funds beyond the government subsidization. CIVIS to me is a very good platform for Arua as a new organization, ARUA was formed in 2015, and ARUA is also a trailblazer, if I can say so, because there hasn't been such an attempt on the African continent before, on a large scale. And Europe has had experience of 80 years of trying to create an internal harmonization within its academic programs. The British one, the continental one, with all the various countries in Europe that for almost 1,000 years have been fixed on a particular system. And through the broader Erasmus project, and of course with CIVIS now, we are seeing this internal harmonization within the continent of Europe of the academic programs, allowing for movement of students and academics and faculty. And I think that is really unique. It is something that in Africa, for example, with ARUA, we have universities that have been francophone, that have followed the old French system, Lusophone, Anglophone, even Equatorial Guinea, which is Spanish, as a Spanish history, and Arabophone. So all these countries have got very different systems that have been inherited from their past links with the European countries. And how do we harmonize within the systems in a way Europe has done? So to me, it speaks about sharing expertise. Apart from resources or money, it's about learning from the best practice of how you can harmonize between different systems. And then that allows students to move within the African continent, from Makerere to Casablanca to Johannesburg, Durban, Cape Town. I think we've got a market of 1.2 billion young people that actually can be a force for good. My biggest hope is we see this as a start of a new era in partnerships between the global south, global north, or simply more directly between Africa and Europe. It's not been a partnership that has been based on equal terms for obvious historical reasons. And I think the academy is the only platform where we can start rethinking how Europe and Africa can work. Granted, the resources are not equal, right? The historical knowledge capital is not equal, but at least it's a partner, as most of my colleagues within CIVIS says, partnership based on respect, trust, and a partnership based on equality, equal partners in an unequal world.